Statute 2705-3.
What?
Transformers 4 review.
That a real
Review.
Yep.
Transformers 4.
Okay, so my opinion on this film might be a bit controversial. I think Transformers Age of Extinction is the best Michael Bay Transformers film. I think I have some strong evidence to prove my point too, so don't dislike the video yet. That said, it's still an incredibly bad film.
Transformers The Last Night. Beauty and the Beast and Spotlight. Writer and director of Big Night. Tucci Gang, Tucci Gang, Tucci.
The plot of this film is kind of odd because this film entirely omits Sam Witwicky. They don't even bother mentioning him, but we'll get back to that in our Transformers The Last Night review next week. Anyhow, the government in this Transformer lockdown is hunting down rogue Decepticons, but secretly, this guy with the CIA, who's evil and in no way works with the president or the rest of the CIA, the film makes this very clear, is also hunting down the Autobots. This leads to the near extinction of the Autobots and seemingly the extinction of the Decepticons. Meanwhile, we meet our new lead, Cade Yeager, his daughter, and his partner TJ Miller. They buy Optimus Prime and repair him, but the government finds out because TJ Miller tells on them. This leads to them being saved by our new awkward young adult character and card-holding statutory rapist, Shane. Anyhow, TJ Miller dies, thank God, and they go on the run. Optimus Prime finds some of the other Autobots and they find out that Stanley Tucci is making new government-controlled drone Autobots out of the melted corpses of other Autobots. This, however, leads to Megatron being revived as Galvatron. They fight, and then they go on to lock down ship and fight, and then Optimus revives the Dinobots, and they fight some more, leading to the evil government guy in lockdown dying and Galvatron running away. That's basically the plot as far as I could understand it.
If you don't like Stan, you a bitch. He did 2 movies with Street. I wanna name my son Tucci. Did you know my man had a cookbook? And he was the co-owner of a restaurant.
This movie probably has the most fleshed out characters in the franchise, and that is for 2 reasons. 1, the main characters are all closely tied to the plot. The humans and the Autobots spend most of the movie together, so they actually have time to be introduced and have stuff to do. And 2, there are less of them. In the second and third movie, we have way too many Autobots to care about them or learn anything about them. So you kind of just see them do stuff, but never even get to know the most basic of character traits. And the first movie has so many loosely connected human plots, Bay really failed to flesh out any of the characters in that one. Anyhow, per usual, let's do the breakdowns. For Autobots we have Optimus Prime. In this one, Optimus Prime probably gets the most time to shine out of all the films. He's basically just mad that the Autobots are getting killed, and this leads to him angrily shooting shit. Bumblebee. In contrast, this film probably has the least time devoted to Bumblebee. I think that's because Sam is gone, and Bumblebee's big character trait is Sam's guardian and not much else, but that's fine, I guess. He also has this little side tangent where he's pissed off because Stanley Tucci is making a new Bumblebee, and, he jumps around and shoots stuff.
Better than me!
Hound is like a hardened soldier who likes to shoot stuff. He's kind of sarcastic, I guess. Oh, and he's played by John Goodman, which is different.
You think I'm fucking around here, Market Zero?
Alright, it's fucking Zero.
Drift is kind of an Asian stereotype. I guess Michael Bay figured if he wasn't making black stereotypes, it'd be fine. And honestly, I guess he's kind of cool. He transforms into a helicopter and a Bugatti, which is kind of neat. Otherwise, he kind of has this Master Splinter or Mr. Miyagi thing going on, so I guess that's kind of cool.
You defend my family. Or die.
You just want to die for the guy. That's leadership. Or brainwashing or something.
No. That's Optimus Prime.
Crosshairs. Okay, this guy kind of just goes around shooting stuff, I'll be honest. He looks kind of cool though. So those are our main Autobots we follow throughout the film, and honestly, as far as it goes, the 3 new Autobots have kind of neat designs, and they aren't fleshed out to a level where I would be comfortable calling them, well, characters. At least there was some thought to make them stand out a little more than not at all, like in previous films. Anyhow, we also have cameos from Ratchet, who basically says he won't sell Optimus Prime out and dies. At least that's more development than he gets in the second and third film.
Never is here.
Leadfoot, who we see die in a video, and that's actually it. Brains shows up. You may not remember him, but he was Wheelie's sidekick or something from the third film. He basically just dumps exposition, then says, "Aight, I'ma head out," and he literally vanishes into the brush.
Not my problem, though. I'm free at last. Whole thing worked out good for me. I'm walking.
You gotta get to see before Galvatron does.
In the climax, the Dinobots show up, and okay, I'll be honest, they don't do much, but here goes. Grimlock. Optimus Prime fights him and then wins, and then Optimus says, "Join us or I'll fucking kill you." So he does, and he fights.
You defend my family. Or die.
Scorn shows up and fights stuff. Slug shows up and fights stuff. Strafe shows up and fights stuff. This film doesn't really have Decepticons. They were all killed off screen or at the end of Transformers 3, but in its place we have Stanley Tucci's Transformers from his KSI company. Okay, so as far as I can understand, Galvatron was programmed using Megatron's head, and Megatron uploaded himself into the new Galvatron body, and then he corrupts the other robots like Stinger, the Bumblebee clone, and Junk Heap. Okay, can I just say Junk Heap is the worst Transformers name ever? Anyhow, I think it was kind of a missed opportunity to add Cyclonus and Scourge. They're two pretty iconic Transformers from the original Transformers movie that were kind of disciples of Galvatron, and their designs would have been pretty cool in the Bayverse probably, especially given the design philosophy in this film. One last note on the KSI Transformers, I guess. Galvatron has one of the shittiest designs I've ever seen. That's all I really have to say about that. We also have Lockdown. This character is neither an Autobot nor a Decepticon. He teams up with the secret evil CIA guy to kill Transformers and tries to capture Optimus to bring back to the creators. Anyhow, he kind of just shows up and dies. Anyways, as I always say, the main core of this film is the human characters, so here goes. Cade Yeager is a pathetic inventor who can't pay his bills. He also loves his daughter. The character is great, and not unironically. This guy is the most American stereotype that could possibly exist. He drinks beer, loves his constitutional rights, and can throw a mean spiral. This character is the embodiment of what China thinks Americans are, which is not surprising as this movie was clearly, and I mean very clearly, made for China.
Directors should have their own judgment, rather than going with the flow. If you feel touched by something, it will surely move others. Emotionally touching subjects always find a market for audience.
Tessa Yeager. She's smart and sarcastic, that's basically it, and while she's grossly sexualized considering the character's supposed to be underage, it certainly isn't to the disgusting level of Michaela or Carly, the former of which is also supposed to be underage. Shane Dyson is this 20-year-old guy who has a laminated card explaining how banging a 17-year-old is okay. And while this is pointed out in every review of this film, it's still worth noting, because it's fucking weird.
It's fine.
No, it's not fine.
We've got a pre-existing juvenile foundational relationship. Statute 2705-3.
What? Texas statute? That a real law?
Otherwise, he's kind of just along for the ride and wants to prove he's worthy to Mark Wahlberg. Joshua Joyce, as portrayed by Stanley Tucci, is a product placement tool. No, but he basically just makes the evil Transformers, and while he's kind of a pushover and a douchebag, he doesn't like that evil CIA man is using his inventions for evil, so he defects and then teams up with Mark Wahlberg to do the right thing. Evil CIA man. As his name implies, he's an evil CIA man, and he's unaffiliated with the president or any other government people, okay? So quit asking. So he kind of just does some evil stuff and then dies. TJ Miller shows up and gets blown into a skeleton statue thing. I like that because TJ Miller dies. I really don't like TJ Miller.
There's a certain guy. He's a character actor we both love. He's very underappreciated. This is for our boy Stanley.
Okay, so much like the last movie, this film has some serious pacing issues, but in different ways. While the plot feels like somewhat of a natural progression, this movie's fucking long. It clocks in at 165 minutes, which is even longer than Dark of the Moon. This is in service of a movie that I would say has far less going on than Dark of the Moon. It would have improved this film so much if in the edit they just carved it down to be a 2-hour film. There's a lot of pointless stuff that could have been cut, and the length takes this film from an unremarkable okay to an expected pretty bad.
Tooch, I got mad respect for his range. Tooch, he should have been Doctor Strange. Tooch, the Devil Wears Prada was sick. Tooch, if you don't like Stan, you're a dick. Tooch.
This is the first Transformers review where I won't talk about the humor. There isn't much to say on that front. There is this one joke where Optimus says I went through the same thing with Bumblebee when talking about how Tessa was being rebellious and kissing Shane.
Excuse me, there's no smooching in front of me, okay?
You're so square. Who even says smooching?
Oh, yeah, no respect. It's just impossible sometimes.
Yeah, I went through that with Bumblebee.
TJ Miller makes a creepy comment about Tessa.
I think she looks hot.
What did you say?
Like a hot teenager.
Oh, it's the teenager thing that makes it better. Thank you.
It didn't sound like what it meant.
Anyhow, that's pretty much all the humor there is to talk about. And anyways, this is the product placement slide, so let's get into that. The product placement is bad in this film. I know Beats by Dre is like the product placement brand, and yeah, they paid to be in this film for sure.
You like music? The pill.
We also have this Oreo vending machine transformer that's really awkwardly integrated into this film. I like how the team behind these films are like, Oreo paid us to do an ad, and they're like, just make an Oreo vending machine that transforms for some reason. We did that when Mountain Dew paid us, it worked then, I suppose. But is that even a thing? Like, are there Oreo vending machines out there? Like, that was the best they could come up with, an Oreo vending machine? This film's annoying. There's also this really awkward Bud Light advertisement shoehorned into this film with Mark Wahlberg opening a beer on a car door. Yeah.
Some of you don't know the name, but that's that guy from the Hunger Games. Married Felicity Blunt, sister of Emily Blunt.
Honestly, this film looks pretty good. It has this glowing contrast that makes it look pretty nice, and it's pretty unique as well. The best way I can describe it is the opposite of Man of Steel. The action is also pretty well made this time, which is something they improved on quite a bit after the first film. The characters are also less pathetic and two-dimensional. I mean, they aren't anything to write home about or anything, and there's still some awkward moments with them, but it's mostly fine. It's fine, it's okay. I can live with it. I also enjoy the fact that most of Bay's horrible humor, which has been a staple of these films, is removed in favor of Cade's hilariously American antics.
Spotlight, Tooch, writer and director of Big Night, Tooch, Tucci Gang, Tucci Gang, Tucci Gang. Tucci.
As I already touched on, this film is way too long, and if they trimmed it down to 2 hours, or dare I even say an hour and a half, that would have allowed for a much more snappy and enjoyable film. As far as it goes, this is probably the smallest scale film in the series thus far. It could have easily been trimmed down, but instead we have such a long fucking movie that it rivals Avengers Endgame in runtime. I also really don't care for Galvatron's design, and most of the not Decepticon things were pretty underdeveloped, really to the point that only 3 are actually named, Galvatron, Stinger, and Junkhead or whatever. It takes the film series' lack of attention to the Decepticons to a whole nother level. Also, I forgot to mention this while I was talking about the plot, but there's a new MacGuffin in this film called the Seed. I guess it would like turn the planet into Cybertron or something. I don't really know. It's kind of just like another, oh, we need to find the MacGuffin. It certainly doesn't have as much importance laid on it as the other 3 films laid into their MacGuffin. But it's there, so that's something. That was pretty shitty. That's why it's in this category, not because I forgot about it.
Tucci Gang, Tucci Gang, Tucci Gang, Tucci Gang, Tucci Gang, Tucci Gang, Tucci Gang. Some of you don't know the name, but that's that guy from the Hunger Games. Transformers The Last Night, Beauty and the Beast and Spotlight.
Ultimately, while this film is overly long and certainly has its issues, in my eyes, it's probably the best film in the series. I get way too much enjoyment from watching Mark Wahlberg as Cade Yeager and just his crazy American antics. It feels like the character was developed by Tommy Wiseau, and I love it. On top of that, the main Autobots get more development in this film than in all the previous 3 installments, and the designs are pretty cool and unique. The action and overall look of this film is pretty decent. I just had a lot of fun watching the first hour and a half of this film. Then I got really fucking bored.